Are you building a digital workforce or a digital Frankenstein? I'm Randy McClure with SC Tech Insights. If you want to stop buying random software and start building a real business architecture, here is a video explaining my latest research, the 5 layers of modern enterprise automation. To guide our architectural breakdown, we're going to use a 6-part schematic. We'll start with the architecture crisis, move into beyond legacy replication, and then cover personal and vertical layers. From there, we'll look at integration and process workflows, examine the autonomous apex, and finally wrap up with the digital workforce. Let's begin with section 1, the architecture crisis. Okay, let's look closely at this architectural friction. When organizations purchase fragmented software without a unified enterprise strategy, they aren't building a streamlined system. What they're actually building is a digital Frankenstein's monster. This chaotic environment is usually characterized by 3 specific things: legacy bots executing outdated logic, siloed software that just hoards critical data, and rogue AI experiments with absolutely no native interoperability. Because there's no cohesive business architecture, these systems barely communicate, and that generates immense operational drag rather than the efficiency we're looking for. Moving on to section 2, beyond legacy replication. Now, we need to define the objective parameters of our solution to establish some foundational alignment before we go deeper. IBM defines enterprise automation as the strategic use of technology, software, and artificial intelligence to integrate, streamline, and drive business value across an organization. I want you to notice the emphasis on strategy and integration there. This isn't just about writing a quick script to click a button. It's about engineering a truly comprehensive business architecture. It's important to rigorously contrast our outdated methodologies with modern structural requirements. For decades, automation was treated as a brute force mechanism. We digitized rigid workflows, effectively paving over cow paths. But making a flawed process run faster, that just means you're executing errors at scale. Modern intelligent architecture, on the other hand, represents a complete re-engineering. We're deploying AI-powered systems capable of dynamically analyzing data, adapting to new variables, and systematically executing highly complex business outcomes. Section 3, Personal and Vertical Automation. Our baseline begins right here. Layer 1 is personal automation. This is where we leverage large language models, or LLMs, and natural language processing to serve as individual copilots. They enhance personal productivity through things like transcription, predictive text, and real-time assistance. Then we have layer 2, which is vertical automation. These are specialized platforms. Think of your CRM or ERP systems. They act as your definitive systems of record. And while they automate incredibly efficiently within their own structural walls, they are inherently siloed. And this brings us to a critical question that really frames the engineering failure of these vertical systems. Think about it. If we've invested millions in state-of-the-art vertical software, why are most business operations still held together by massive 60-tab Excel spreadsheets? While the answer lies in what exactly happens when a process attempts to cross departmental boundaries. It exposes what we call the duct tape reality of modern business. You see, vertical systems are designed to process localized transactions, not to drive enterprise-wide decision-making. Your CRM might log a sale flawlessly, but it remains completely blind to the supply chain bottlenecks housed over in your ERP. This creates data silos and brittle systems that fracture the moment you face operational disruptions. Ultimately, this data readiness gap forces operations teams to rely on fragmented, manual workarounds just to patch the architecture together. That brings us to section 4, integration and process workflows. Layer 3 is integration automation. Think of this as the digital glue. It's the APIs and middleware that unlock those data silos we just talked about, solving our interoperability crisis by connecting disparate systems. Then, layer 4 is process automation. Here is where we find robotic process automation, or RPA, and business process automation. These task-based bots are highly efficient at executing rigid procedural tasks, like processing a batch of standard invoices. However, they are cognitively blind. They lack the structural intelligence to adapt to exceptions or ambiguity in the data. The core engineering principle here is that a business is only as fast as its slowest data handoff. If your CRM can't communicate with your billing system without a human manually exporting a CSV file, you don't possess an automated enterprise. You have a digital traffic jam. True interoperability requires data to be accessible, usable, and secure across the entire architecture. Without rapid, automated information flow, your operation is effectively flying blind. Next is section 5, the autonomous AI apex.
Before we define this apex layer, we must clinically differentiate between two very distinct technological states. Augmented AI acts as an active human collaborator. For instance, it flags anomalies, like potential fraud, for human review. Autonomous AI, conversely, independently makes decisions and takes action without any human input whatsoever. A great example of this is a search and rescue drone autonomously navigating terrain and deploying supplies. This distinction defines Layer 5 intelligent enterprise automation. This is the absolute apex of our information framework. At this layer, we are no longer programming rigid bots with strict rules. Instead, we're deploying autonomous AI agents. These are digital knowledge workers capable of handling unstructured data, navigating extreme ambiguity, and adjusting dynamically to constant environmental change. They systematically re-engineer workflows on the fly. This subjective data clearly illustrates the transition happening right now across multiple sectors. Let's look at the numbers. In call centers, we're moving from augmented agent assistance to autonomous agents independently resolving complex customer issues. In transport, we're shifting from standard driver navigation apps to fully self-driving hired vehicles. And in medicine, we're advancing from AI assisting in X-ray diagnostics toward fully autonomous expert medical diagnostics. The technological trajectory here is clear and it's highly measurable. Finally, Section 6, Building the Digital Workforce. The structural imperative we have to understand is this. You simply cannot buy a cohesive strategy off of a vendor's shelf. Forcing a standalone AI tool on top of a siloed ERP will only yield another digital Frankenstein. Building a resilient, high-velocity digital workforce is not some delegible IT project. It is a mandatory business architecture that requires active, relentless ownership and control from executive business leaders. I'll leave you with this definitive statement on the strategic reality of our modern digital landscape from Tom Preston Warner. He said, "You're either the one that creates the automation or you're getting automated." The blueprint for these 5 letters is now in your hands. The question is, will you step up and engineer this architecture, or will you allow your operation to be outpaced by those who do?
Hello, this is Randy McClure from SC Tech Insights. Thank you for listening. For more on this topic, click the article link below or go to www.sctechinsights.com for the latest insights on supply chain technology. Thank you and see you next time.